Tonight we're talking about the mind. What's the name of this lecture? Control your mind or your mind will control you. Is that correct?
Use your mind or your
Use
mind.
Use your mind or your mind will use you. But the first place we have to start with is, why would you want to control your mind? The obvious answer is to achieve whatever you want. And so the mind's like a steering wheel and the body's the car. And the intelligence directs. And we're the passenger in the car. The intelligence is telling the driver where to go. The driver is the mind, not the steering wheel is the mind. But anything you want to achieve, whether it's material or spiritual, you'll have to be able to control your mind, which includes controlling your emotions and your will, because the mind consists of thoughts and consists of the subtle thoughts, which are the emotions, and the willing. So the mind consists of thinking, feeling, and willing. So it's not that we're just controlling the thoughts, we're controlling emotions, and we're controlling willpower. Or we're letting willpower be taken away, letting our emotions be controlled, or we're letting our mind be controlled. So if you want to achieve material or spiritual success, you have to be able to control the mind and the emotions and the willpower. So controlling the mind in and of itself is not the goal of life, because you can control the mind for the wrong reason, right? So you can go to a class on mind control, become an expert at controlling your mind, and then you decide, I'm going to blow up Sydney. And now you're like more empowered, more your will, you got your will, your emotions under control, you got your mind under control. And you're going to blow up Sydney. I once asked this question, and I'll ask it to you. Let's say today, everyone, magically, mystically, was able to be completely in control of their will, their emotions, and their mind. Would the world be better, or would the world be worse? Interesting question, isn't it? If everyone was more controlled, more disciplined mentally, that means they could achieve more, they could get it more quickly, and be more successful at what they do. Would the world be better, or would the world just be degrading faster? Interesting question. I think it would be both. I think some places would get better, and some would get worse, which proves that controlling the mind and emotions for a person whose intentions are impure or very materialistic is just a problem, because they intensify whatever it is they do, right? Do you know what would happen if there were no human beings on the planet? Do you know what would happen? Take a guess. Just ecologically, we wouldn't have so many problems. Did you know that? Actually, the best thing we could do for ecology is to commit suicide. If we all kill ourselves, that would be the best thing for the planet. So, if we all live here, determined, controlled like that, we could go totally destroy the planet in, a few hundred years sooner than planned, than at the present rate. So, just being able to control your emotions and your mind in and of itself is not the goal. Sometimes we have what are called motivational speakers. But why do you want to motivate people if they end up doing the wrong thing? You want to direct people before you motivate them. Right? So, isn't it? You don't want to motivate, some gangsters. I gave a motivational speaker to gangsters. Now they're much more effective at destroying people. What's the point? So, Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master, says that the purpose of yoga is to control the mind. Well, what does that mean? It's to control the mind. So what can you do with your mind once you control it? You can focus it on Krishna, on God. You can purify yourself. So yoga, the practice of yoga, the eightfold yoga system, Ashtanga, the asanas, and pranayama, and the meditation. That's all for controlling the mind. Buddhism is for controlling the mind. You do your what do they call it? Vipassana, and make your vows, and you vow of silence, you don't speak, you do pranayama. It's all to calm the mind. Okay, so now that the mind's calm, what do you do? So for many people, when the mind is calm, then they think, oh, I feel better, which you will, obviously, if your mind is calm. I feel more peaceful. But in and of itself, feeling better, feeling more peaceful, isn't of itself that spiritual, or may not be spiritual at all. Because it depends on your consciousness, your heart, your intention. So when we talk about controlling the mind, we're talking about getting the mind in a state where we can focus it on our spiritual mind, rather than being carried away by the external environment. So, for many of us, the environment we're in, the people we associate with, the media we read and watch, where we live, is having a huge effect on us. And therefore, although inside we have values, we have beliefs, externally we may not always live them because the environment is pulling us. Right? You ever have that experience? You feel inside one way, but you're being pulled another way. Yes? It's very frustrating, isn't it? It's probably the most frustrating thing in life. You plan to go right, you end up going left. And while you're going left, you can't even turn the wheel back right. It's just helpless. It's a horrible way to live. So that's the challenge. That's what we're dealing with. How to align with our beliefs, values, and so forth, and be able to stay intentional with that. That's a challenge. So, if we have spiritual goals, then controlling the mind will help us with the spiritual goals. And now I have some bad news for you. It's very difficult to control the mind. And most people don't even know how the mind works, and most people aren't so good at controlling their mind. Their mind is pretty much on autopilot because we're creatures of habit. So we do things habitually. And that's one of the reasons we think of things we don't want to think of, because it's been programmed in there. If you grow up in a city, anywhere in the Western world, you've been programmed to think certain things. Even if you don't want to be, it's been programmed in you, either by your parents, or by the media, or by your teachers, or by your textbooks, or by your friends, or by the t-shirts, or by the ads on the bus, on the billboards, showing some very happy person doing something, and you think, oh, if I do that, I'll be happy. Or he's just got his new iPhone, whatever they're up to, 10 something, 10 super, what are they up now? 10 something? 10 extra? Or 10 extra. And I don't have one, and he's happy. And a big smiling face. And, you look at your face every morning, and it's not smiling like you. So, all this is actually programming us. And you see, the boy and girl, maybe walking together, and they look very happy. They look happy because they just got drunk. Friday night. And all this program's going on. And so we're thinking all these things will make us happy. that won't. And so when we come to spiritual life, we start to understand these things. But all this programming has already been done. And it's done its damage, and it's done it very deeply. Because we have deep beliefs about materialism. Did you know that? You may think you don't, because intellectually you can understand what's wrong with it. But if intellectually you understand, but in your heart you're feeling pulled against what you understand, that's because of the habits that have been programmed in there. Due to all that conditioning. And I have some more bad news for you. It's not only in this life, it's many lives of conditioning. You say, well, how could you say that? Because if we overcame our conditioning in our last life, we wouldn't have a physical body anymore. Do you know why you have a body? Did anyone ever tell you? Because in your last life, you had desires which were unfulfilled, material desires. And the only way you can fulfill material desires is to have a material body. If you have no material desires, your desires are purely spiritual, you don't need a physical body because you have no desire physically to fulfill. If you still have physical desires, you get a physical body. So it's not just this life, this society we live in, which is so materialistic. It's not this life. It's lifetimes of conditioning. So that's what we're dealing with. And all this conditioning has formed all kinds of attitudes, habits, beliefs, which are operating subconsciously. And then consciously you're trying to control your mind, and with all your energy is like, I have this bad thought, I can't think it. What to do? How do we deal with it? That's a good question. You ever, okay, I'm going to think of this, positive thoughts, not going to be jealous of anyone, not going to be envious of anyone, just, I'm going to respect everyone, I'm going to be humble, I'm going to appreciate everyone, I'm not going to complain anymore. There's you want to watch something funny? I don't know the name of the YouTube video, but this guy buys a device, and you wear this device in your wrist or on your neck. Every time you complain, it shocks you. He puts it on, right? Takes some coffee. Oh, it's cold. And he walks outside. It's so hot today. He's in the car. The traffic. And then he's so frustrated with it, he wants to take it back. I hate this device. So, yeah, that's what's going on, right? Why did I even mention that? I forgot my train of thought. What was my train of thought? Who knows? What? Desires. And then what was the next thought? This means I'm tired. I'm just really happy. If I can't remember my train of thought, it's because I'm tired. You were more tired than I am. You can't even tell me my train of thought.
You're talking about humble, respect everyone, and do the right thing.
Oh yeah, try to be humble, respect everyone. Yeah, you make decisions. Yeah, I'm going to be tolerant, and then you complain like 400 times. That's it, isn't it? So it's not just a battle with your mind; it's a whole shift that has to take place. Now, we understand. If you become very elevated spiritually, you won't have those problems anymore. You will transcend them. You'll be, it's like in the plane, cloudy day, it's raining, you get up high enough, it's sunny, right? So when you transcend, you'll be in the sun. Your mind will be completely spiritualized, no problem. But until you get there, you'll have to learn how to deal with your mind, because if you don't, you won't get there. That's the problem. So for us who want to practice spiritual life, all this mind control is only necessary so we can get above the clouds. Once we're above the clouds, it's automatically controlled. So how do we do that? Well, in doing anything, the most important element is you have to want to do it. You have to have a reason to do it. Especially if it's difficult, you have to have a reason to do it. Because it's easier not to do it, isn't it? I'm feeling so inspired today. Maybe I'll just watch a movie, eat some potato chips. Take it easy. Although at 5 o'clock you were determined to go home and write that book you're working on. Right? But then things take over. So easier to eat the potato chips and watch the movie than to write the book. Sometimes it's just hard to come up with the title of the book, or whatever it is you're doing, isn't it? So that's what we're dealing with. And if you don't have a reason to control your mind, your senses, and emotions, you don't have a good reason, it's very easy to give up. Now, would you like some good advice? Even if you don't want it, you'll get it. Here's some good advice. If you want to be inspired to do something that you're not doing, you need 5 very good reasons. So this is one way to, I can show you many ways to control the mind. All of this is a little, we're making adjustments. We're doing a practice. Krishna says in the Gita, you can control the mind by practice. So these are practices. So the intelligence is above the mind. The intelligence controls the mind. When you have good reasons to do something, the whys, that connects with intelligence, and that overrides the mind. So if you want to do something, and you don't have 5 good reasons, you'll probably never do it, not steadily. You'll probably give up on it or you won't even start. Unless you're an extremely determined and dutiful person, and you can just act out of duty and do it because it's right. Most people can't just do something because it's right in this day and age, isn't it? You get married, it doesn't work out. Oh, we should stay together, it's right. Yeah, I know it's right, but I don't love you. I'll see you later. That's what's happening more and more, right? If it feels good, do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Right? I don't feel the spark for you, honey, anymore. It's time to move on. But we made an agreement. Yeah, I know, but that was an agreement we made when we were young and stupid, and I don't feel that way. And so most people aren't so, what we call dharmic, dutiful, committed, as they used to be. Right? Back in the day, 20s, big contract, millions of dollars, handshake, nothing even written. You didn't need it. People would honor their word. Hare Krishna. Jai. So for us, we need some inspiration. We need good reasons. Now, those reasons could be dharma, that it's the right thing to do. But they have to resonate with you. And you don't have good reasons, it's going to be very difficult. Does that make sense? So, if you want to get up early in the morning, you need 5 good reasons. And most people who don't get up early in the morning, who want to get up early, have 5 good reasons not to get up early. Isn't it? Think about it. Anything you want to do that you don't do, you probably have 5 good reasons not to do it. Because if you had 5 good reasons to do it, you would do it. So, you know what you want to do in your sober moments, isn't it? You know what you want to do. And you also know what your mind tricks, what they're going to play, so you have to override it through intelligence. So if you have reasons to do it, it connects with intelligence. Intelligence is more powerful than the mind. Why should I do this? Because if I get up early, I can chant Hare Krishna better than if I get up late. If I get up early, I'll have time to read. If I get up early, I'll have time to exercise. If I get up early, I don't have time for this, time for that. So, wow, I really like to do these things. Those are 5 powerful reasons to get up early. And if you want to put this exercise on steroids, for each of your 5 reasons why you want to get up early, put 5 reasons under those 5 reasons. I want to get up early to chant Hare Krishna. Why? What's good about chanting Hare Krishna? Give me 5 reasons. I want to get up early so I can exercise. Why do you need exercise? Give me 5 reasons. You'll have 30 reasons. Isn't that nice? 5 reasons why I want to do something, 5 under each. Seems like it's 25, it's actually 30. 5 under 5. So you think 5 times 5? It's 30, because you already have 5. And then 5, then 5 more, 25, right? Somebody caught me because I was giving a retreat and I said it was 25. He goes, no, it's 30. Of course, he was an accountant. So, another way you use intelligence to override your mind is you look at consequences of your actions. So, if, let's say I'm getting up at 7 o'clock every day, I'm going to bed like midnight, and I'm just like, 10 o'clock till midnight, I'm just like clicking or surfing or YouTubing or Facebooking, nothing really significant. And, you know, if I were to go to bed at 10, then I'd get up at 5. And from 5 to 7 in the morning, I could be much more productive than 10 for most people. Some people are productive at night, but most people just don't do so many productive things at night. So then you begin to imagine, okay, if I do this, I either get up early or get up later, whatever it is I want to do and don't want to do for the rest of my life, what will be the result? And you'll see there'll be a huge difference, isn't it? Let's say, let me think of something common. Okay, I have a problem. It's caused me a lot of trouble. We all have some, whatever it is, you know, your Uncle Harry, you know, you never talked to because he wasn't nice to you when you were 7, and your mother keeps saying, why don't you talk to Uncle Harry? No, I don't want to see him. And it's causing everyone in the family anxiety, and if you could just talk to him, everything would be better. But you don't want to talk to him, right? Something like that. I don't know if that's a good example, but you know, what is the consequence? Everyone, family's upset, you know, he won't look at me, this and that. And what would be the consequence if I just did it? It would be so much better. So whatever it is, if I continue acting a certain way, you know, I don't like meeting strange people, I don't like getting too close to people, I'm not always trustworthy, or I resist this, or I can't control that. Whatever it is, you just say, okay, if I live my life that way for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, however you're going to live, long you're going to live, what's the consequence? What's it going to be like? How will I feel, and what's going to be the result? If I give that up, how will I feel? What will be the result? Huge difference, right? It's actually scary to think like that, isn't it? Let's say you're very arrogant, very greedy, very lusty, and you don't give it up. I'm going to live my whole life arrogant. Or I have no self-esteem. I'm going to live my whole life with I have no self-confidence. I'm afraid of my own shadow. I'm going to live my whole life that way. What's the consequence? It's very bad, very depressing. If I gave that up, if I acted in spite of my fear, if I had more self-confidence, I wasn't so arrogant, what would the result be? Oh, life would be so much different. And that connects again with intelligence, seeing consequences. Because intelligence sees consequences. The mind does not see consequences. According to the Vedas, all the mind sees is what it likes and what it doesn't like. The mind is like a little kid. The kid just sees what he likes or she likes and doesn't like. Isn't it? So let's imagine now a very funny thought. Let's say you could do an operation and remove your intelligence. Okay, so let's say I just remove your intelligence. Now what would your life be like? You have no intelligence. You can't analyze anything. All you can do is do what you like and avoid what you don't like. You can't think of consequences, right and wrong, moral, immoral, because that's what intelligence does. Just the mind. You just like it, you do it. You don't like it, you don't do it. That would be a crazy life, right? And that's basically animal life is more on that level. Human life has a much more developed intelligence. So the intelligence overrides the mind. So the mind is just giving feedback. The mind is just, I like this, I don't like this. The senses are giving stimulus to the mind. Well, that feels good, or it doesn't feel good. This is sharp, oh, this is soft. It's a feeling, registers in the mind, good or bad. The mind just goes good or bad. But maybe that bad feeling is what I need, it'll be healthy. I eat the spinach, but I don't like it. Intelligence says, eat it, it's good for you. Mind says, I don't like it, I don't want to eat it. Right? So if you had no intelligence, what would you eat? What would you do all day? That would be interesting, right? Maybe we can make a movie to illustrate this point. So it's obvious that the stronger the intelligence, the more the mind is controlled. So now, we want to get to a point in our life where we can conceive of something we want to do and be able to do it and not allow the mind to distract us. By being able to control the mind through intelligence. How else can we control the mind? We can control the mind through action. This is very interesting. And this is very, very powerful. Let's say I am envious of this wonderful young man here. He used to be young, not as young as he used to be. But compared to me, he's young. How old are you?
47.
47. I have a son, 46. Well, you can say wow if you want. I have a son who's 46. Yeah, I was 23 when he was born. So, this is a young man for me. So, let's say this lovely young man, David, I'm envious of him because he's so handsome, with such a wonderful wife, nice job, so smart, beautiful home, and I live in a caravan, I'm single, all I have is debts, I'm not beautiful like him, so I'm envious of him. Right? What do? It's very difficult to overcome envy, isn't it? Yes? You ever been envious? Never, right? Oh, I'm the only one, right? So, so what do we do? This is very important. This could change your life. Would you like to change your life? A little bit? This could change your life. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, said something amazing. He said, first understand if you're envious of somebody, you actually respect them. Because are any of you envious of the garbage collectors? Raise your hand if you're envious of garbage collectors. Envious of street sweepers. Envious of maids. No, you're envious of the guy in the Rolls Royce, right? With the house on the beach, with the big windows. You know, the $15 million house. That's the guy you're envious of. Are you envious of a guy who lives in a shack? In a slum in Mumbai? No. So you're only envious of someone you respect. Isn't that interesting? So when you find someone you're envious of, it's actually respect. You just don't realize it. Isn't that interesting? This one teacher, he said, so many people, when they see rich people, they hate them. You know, people who want to be rich who aren't, some guy drives, is driving down in his Lamborghini or whatever, you know, Maserati. Parks it, he gets out in his $2,000 suit, his Rolex watch, and you know, you're trying to make a lot of money, and you see the guy. I hate you! Right? You actually don't hate him. You hate that you're not him. That's what you hate. You want to be him. So my spiritual master said something interesting. He said, if someone has what you want, like this, you know, this is a material example, but let's say you're envious of someone who's more spiritually evolved than you. So he has more humility than you. He has more spirituality, more kindness, more compassion, more attraction to spiritual practice. And you don't have that when you become envious of him. My spiritual master said something really interesting. He said, if you're envious of the person who has the qualities you want, then you've placed a negative on what you want. You created a negative energy towards what you want. Isn't that interesting? Okay, but let's use the example of the guy with money. I think it's easier. So he walks out of his Maserati in his $2,000 whatever suit. What suit costs $2,000? Armani. He's got his Armani with his Rolex, his Maserati. What kind of shoes? Some, you know, $600 pair of shoes. And you think, I hate this guy. So you've created negative connotations to Maserati $2,000 shoes, because they're not on you. So you've created negative connotations. So now you want to be rich, and you've created all negative towards all the signs of wealth. Isn't it? Isn't that funny? So you want to be spiritually advanced. He's very humble, I'm not. He's very kind, I'm not. So I'm creating negatives towards all the things that I want. Isn't that interesting? So my spiritual master said, serve him. Serve that person. Appreciate that person because they have what you want. And then you create positive energy. So there's actually one teacher who teaches about money. And he said, when you see that filthy rich, well, don't use the word filthy rich. When you see that rich person with the Maserati in 2000, go up to him and say, thank you, you're such an inspiration for me. Is there anything I can do to help you? Appreciate him. Isn't that interesting? So what you're doing is you're changing your behavior toward the thing which is actually controlling you. That person you're envious of is completely controlling you. Isn't that? Aren't they? They don't even know you, and you're letting them control you because you hate them. You know, when you were in school, didn't you hate the student who was the smart one, who knew all the answers? No. In my school, it was the Chinese girl. Her name was Fei Lo. I hated her so much that I remember her name. That was 1967. Fei Lo. Oh my God, she knew every answer. She knew answers that weren't in the textbook. She knew answers the teacher never gave. I hate you, Fei Lo. And I hate all Chinese people now. Isn't it? So we're hating someone for their good qualities. This is totally insane. So when you become a little sober and you want to practice spiritual life, you realize this is so stupid. You know, this is not the way to live. So you want to change it. So you have to know how to adjust everything. So you have to be able to control your mind. You have to be able to reanalyze it. And then the last thing we're saying, you want to serve and appreciate the person. So it's an action, and an action which changes attitude. So if you don't like somebody, but you appreciate them, you'll start to like them. Sometimes parents will have their kids hug when they're fighting. Just hug them. I don't want to hug them, just hug them. Because if you can get two people to hug, they're really hard to hate somebody when you're hugging them. Mm-hmm. I hate you, get out of my house. It's really difficult, isn't it? So it's like, let's say you have an issue with somebody and you feel uneasy. You can't really control your mind. It's just, you know, that those times when you can't shake that, whatever it is you have to shake. But if you embrace them, it shakes it out of you. If you praise them, it shakes it out of you. If you pray for them, it shakes it out of you. If you bless them, it shakes it out of you. I was saying, you can make a t-shirt if you want. You can't hate someone you're praying for. Because it's two different mindsets. You see? So when you get yourself into one mindset, which is an habitual mindset that you can't control, if you act in a way which counteracts the mindset, you don't even have to change your mind, you just act. And the action will change your mind. It's such an easy way to change your mindset through action. So I embrace him, I pray for him, or I appreciate him, all three, and I lose my envy for him. Or I'm just nice to him, I respect him, right? What if I'm battling with pride? What would be the best thing to do if I'm battling with pride? It would be to figure out how to respect people. I don't have to artificially be humble, but figure out how can I respect people, how can I appreciate them, because it automatically lowers your position. So I'm very arrogant. My brother was arrogant, my father was arrogant, my mother was arrogant, my aunt was arrogant. We're just one bunch of arrogant people. And now I'm out in the world, and I meet the Hare Krishnas, and the first thing they say is, here's a mantra, and to chant it, you have to be humble. Like, oh my God, that's impossible for me. Now what do I do? So I have to figure out what to do, because I don't have it in my mind doesn't, humble was never a word that was used in our family. I had to look it up in the dictionary. I don't even know what it means. Actually, I have a disciple, and I said you have to be humble, and she said, I don't know how to do that. I never heard the word before. She was completely bewildered. So what do you do? Well, you start to think, I should respect people because it's a sign of humility. I should appreciate people. It's a sign of humility. How do I do that? You figure out how to do that somehow or other. You see something good in somebody, right? Not externally, but internally. You appreciate it. You understand everyone is part of Krishna. I should respect them as a soul, not for how much money they have or what degrees they have or the kind of clothes they wear. It's just they're a spiritual being. They're dear to Krishna. I can respect that. You find something to respect. And all of a sudden, as you respect people, you see that is a manifestation of humility. It's working on you. Your ego is starting to deflate a little bit. Maybe you could never deflate it, but because you act that way, You honor people. You find somebody doing something, and you praise them. And even if they're not doing it so well, you say, it's nice what you're doing. I see you're really trying to perfect this. I appreciate your effort. Even though normally you think you're 10 times better than that person, you look and say, I really appreciate your time. You don't complain. You don't criticize. Right? You get a rubber band. Every time you complain, you go. And after like 20 minutes, it's so sore, and you say, I can't complain anymore. It's like, if I do it, it will kill me. It's already blistered. You do something, right? It's an action. Another aspect of what's really difficult in controlling the mind is that we're trying to think against what we believe. Right? Like, I believe I'm the best thing on the earth, and I'm trying to be humble. Good luck. Good luck. How do you do that? Why should I respect people? I'm the smartest person here. So that's what I believe about myself. Or I believe the opposite. I'm the stupidest person here, and I'm trying to have self-confidence. So when we have beliefs, and we're trying to change our thoughts, the beliefs are generating the thoughts. So you're just getting rid of the bubbles on the surface, but the bubbles are being created underneath. So you get rid of the bubbles, and more bubbles, the same bubbles keep coming up. So you're scooping them off the top, thinking I'm controlling my thoughts. But the bubble machine is bringing up the same thought bubbles. Those are the beliefs. So beliefs are the subtle form of thought. And if you don't adjust beliefs, then you always have the same thoughts. Right? Material philosophy means I believe that I'm a little god or a big god. Right? I believe that I can control things. I believe I can enjoy things. I'm an enjoyer. I'm a controller. Yes, that's the material consciousness. And spiritual consciousness is God is a controller, God is an enjoyer. Material consciousness. I am the enjoyer, I'm the controller. I can actually enjoy life, this physical body. So if you have that belief and you're trying to think humbly and trying to think I am a servant, unless you start acting humbly, acting as a servant, not acting as the proprietor and controller of everything you can be proprietor of and control, it's not going to change. But you can act in yourself into new beliefs. Because so many beliefs you have, you acted into and you didn't even know. You did something and your best friend left you, and now you have a belief that every good friend will leave you. An action creates a belief. So you can act against it. Okay, now I'm going to develop relationships with people who won't leave me. So I try to develop good relationships, and then new beliefs come. So it's something to consider. If you have perpetual thoughts that you're always trying to control and you can't, it's probably because you have beliefs that are generating those thoughts. And you have to go down. And one way to is act in the way that you want to believe. This got me in trouble once. This one teacher said, he said, if you want to get rich, you have to act like a rich person. So I did, $25,000 on my credit card, a few months later. I was acting like a rich person. Of course, I couldn't pay the credit card. So I don't know, you have to be careful about that. But you understand the principle. You have to, you want to be rich, you've always been poor, so you have to start acting like rich people act so you can change. To act that way, you have to change everything. Well, this pair of socks is $347 and this is $429. But the $429, they have a 10-year guarantee, and the $347 has a 2-day guarantee, but it's $1.25 cheaper, I'll buy it. That's the poor mentality, right? So you kind of have to know, I want to be wealthy, I'm going to buy the $427 socks instead of, something like that. You just start acting, I'm afraid to do this, I'm going to do it anyway. You act against your fears. You act, like we said, act against your envy. And as you do it, it starts to create a different mindset. So now you might be sitting here thinking, okay, it all sounds good. How do you do it? How do you, it sounds like you make it sound, Prabhu, you make it sound so simple. I've been trying to control my mind since, ever, and you make it sound so simple. Well, I'll make it sound even simpler. The last verse of Bhagavad Gita, the last verse in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you are above your mind and intelligence. You are the soul. So the soul has free will. The soul decides. And if you, as the soul, don't decide, then the material energy, which we call Maya, or the 3 modes of nature, they will decide for you. So, imagine you're going to school and they say, what classes do you want to take? I don't know. They say, well, if you don't decide what you want, we make the curriculum for you. Okay, make it for you. So, our life is something like that. That Krishna has given us free will. We can decide. That's the nature of the soul. Soul is called jiva. The nature of jiva is that it has free will. That's what distinguishes these kartals from you. These kartals have no free will. If you leave them there, they won't move unless you move them. Right? You have will. You can get up right now, isn't it? You use your free will to come here. You can get up and go. You can take what I'm teaching and use it. You can walk out and say, I can't do that. You can, whatever you want to do, you can do. But if you don't use that free will, then the material energy just comes and it just tells you what to do. It does it for you. And then we become controlled. And that's why we start moving away from our desires, our values, our intentions, because we allow the world to pull us. This is where we started this lecture. So you and I and all of us actually have the power to control ourselves. That might be the best thing you've heard all day. You actually have the power, because you can make a decision. Any decision you want to make, you can make. Will you make it? That's another question. But knowing that you can make it is powerful. We just had a retreat for 5 days. I have some bad news for you. You missed something really good. You can come next year to India, Mayapur, and attend our retreat. It was, how can I say this? I gave it. It's really arrogant of me to say it was amazing. But I'm only repeating what the devotees who came there said. That's what they said. But as a teacher, I could see it was quite amazing. And what was the last thing I said?
Free will.
What?
Free will.
After free will.
We have power to make a decision.
Yeah, we have power to make a decision. And
We get full. If we will not make a decision, the material energy will come and make it.
after that.
We have power to make a decision.
Oh no, I remember now. So, this is what we did. It was a beautiful exercise. This was amazing. So, we have 29 questions that you answer, and it helps you connect with your nature, your physical and mental nature. So you can kind of understand what your gifts are and what you should be doing with life. Because most people aren't using their gifts, or many people are not using their gifts. Many people are not doing what they really know they want to do and should be doing, isn't it? So we did that exercise. Then we said, okay, what I want you to do is make a movie of your life. You're the director, the producer, everything. And because it's fiction, it can be anyway. So how would you like your life to be? Not the Maserati and the $15 million house, but you as a person, how would you like to be? And how would you like to contribute to the world? And what would you like to have so you could use in service? And I said, don't even think if it's practical enough. Just what would you like it to be? So everyone writes their movie. Okay, in 5 years this, in 10 years that, start this company and serve this way. And by then I'll be chanting 32 rounds a day, getting up at 3 o'clock, and I'll be teaching 5,000 people a week, and just everything. So, I had to say it's total fiction, just write it, right? So after everyone, because if you try to think what's practical, you can't write it the way you want it. Because you'll think, I can't do that, I can't do it, right? So then we wrote it. I said, okay, great, you have your fiction story. I was, yeah, okay, so let's figure out how we're going to do it. Kind of change them up a bit. So let's start, what are the obstacles and how you're going to do it? So we're all discussing, right? People are getting pretty inspired now because, they have a vision. It's like, you can create a vision for your life. You don't have to accept what your life is. If you don't like it, you can actually change it. That's good news, right? You can actually do that because you're jiva, you're above the mind and intelligence. You can actually control your life the way you want. What do you think about that? I mean, you can't control everything, but you can do better. Let's say that way. So, we did this beautiful exercise. You cannot believe what the room, well, we weren't in the room, we were outside under mango trees. You cannot believe, there's 105 of us under 3 big mango trees in the lake. You cannot believe what happened after we did this exercise. It was, this exercise on February 24th. So I said, tomorrow, when you come back tomorrow morning, February 25th, it's going to be 2029. And you're going to meet everybody after 10 years, and you're going to tell them what you're doing. Because they made the plan, right? Now it's 10 years later. And they have to say in the present tense, what I'm doing now is I have this, and my books are in all the bookstores, or the movie's been made, or the Goshala has been created, or that school, we have 3 schools now, or whatever it is. Present tense. You can understand, this is like, okay. So, Sundari Radha, it's 2029, so, what's happened the last 10 years? Deva, Amber, Sneha Priya. What are you doing, You could not believe that room. I'd never seen people so inspired in my life. Like every person was like 1,000-watt light bulb was just turned on. It was amazing. I didn't expect it. Because everyone has a vision, but they turned it off because we're so used to being pulled and controlled by our mind, emotions, senses, isn't it? That we just think, I can't do it. The good news is you're above it all, and you can. You can do better. I can't say you'll be the next prime minister, but you'll be something better than if you didn't believe you had more power within you to do it. So that was amazing. And people have all these amazing plans, and it's what they always wanted to do. So, and it all comes from that I can. It sounds like a little bit of materialistic philosophy. He's saying I can decide, I can control. But if you study spiritual philosophy, it's all about controlling your emotions, controlling your mind, controlling your senses, so you can focus it on service. Is it? Yes. And if we give into it, it's too difficult, I can't do it, I don't know how to do it, then what happens is, the same thing keeps happening through your whole life. Right? We have a nice experience. We have japa retreats where people go over 5 days and just focus on their japa. You go away to some retreat center, out in the middle of nowhere, your phone doesn't even work, nice cabins, surrounded by trees. And we just have classes all day and chant all day and kirtans at night and association all day with devotees. It's amazing. And some devotees realize that if they didn't do that, their japa would have never changed. It would just be the same year and year and year. And sometimes getting worse and worse. more difficult to chant, and less things. It just, and what happens is, when you do something year after year after year, and it's not on the level you want it, you start to believe that you hit the ceiling, you can't go any better. And that's when you run into trouble. This is it, this is how I am, you can't change, that's it. And so, those japa retreats would change those patterns, would change those blueprints, would change those old japa habits. And people would say things like, I don't know, is this the first time? Is this a different mantra? Is this the first time I've chanted? It was like a different experience. So the retreat was kind of reframing how they look at themselves in japa so they could break through those old habits. And so life is like that. You know, you just kind of get in these patterns and then the same thing keeps happening. You ever notice that? Year after year. You know. I have this friend, it's so funny. Every year he writes me, it's the same email with the same 10 problems and the same 10 excuses. And said, Prabhu, you don't have to write me the email I saved last year. I was going to read that one every year. It's exactly the same. Now, I have good news for you. Maybe this will encourage you. I try as best I can to practice what I teach you. I really don't teach things I don't do. I don't feel it's right to teach what you don't do. I feel it has no power. So I do this myself. And in preparing for this retreat, I was reviewing notes of my own aspirations, of my own work on myself from like 10 years ago. And I'm reviewing all the intentions I made, and it's like every one of them is happening now. I was looking at this going, that's pretty good. Everything I set out to do, I said, this is, so that's the way it works. It can't happen if you don't set out to do it and make the intention and follow through and believe you can do it and keep with it. And then you make it happen because you are a soul who can decide what you want. And the sad news is if we don't, then we're just left with the conditioning. And the conditioning, because it's a habit, it just produces the same result. Right? You know, you have the lottery here in your country? Yeah. In America, we say the lottery is how to get money out of people who don't pay taxes. You say that here? Because it's the poor people who play the lottery. They don't. In America, you can be really poor. I don't know if it's. I think here you don't have it as bad, but in America you can be quite poor. You can become homeless and so forth. And so a lot of very poor people play the lottery because they figure they can never get wealthy unless they play the lottery. And they're all playing it. And so they don't have enough money to pay taxes, so that's how the government gets taxes from them. But what they found is that the average person who wins the lottery, we're talking millions of dollars, within 5 years goes bankrupt. You have that problem here also? And the multimillionaires who go bankrupt within a year or two are multimillionaires again. And the reason is it's just their habit. It's just their programming. So the programming just repeats itself. So you go broke, you get millions again. You're programmed to be poor, you get millions, you get poor. So interesting, isn't it? So that's the danger, that's the good side and the bad side of programming. So if you recondition yourself in the proper way, then automatically you improve. Like automatically you'll chant good rounds. Automatically you'll know how to counteract your envy or your lust or greed. You'll reprogram it, recondition yourself. Or automatically you won't. And you'll allow material nature to pull you this way and that way, and you'll go home at night and cry, I'm so stupid, why did I do that? I'll never do that again. And then you do it again the next day. And what could be more miserable than that? Right? Is there anyone in this room who has never said, I'll never do that again, and actually never done it again? Raise your hand if you've ever done it. Okay. Only one. You're not old enough to mess up. Have Nehemiah ever said, open a bag of potato chips and ever said, I'm only going to eat 5 and ate 3 bags? I caught you. Guilty as charged. So, yes. It's midnight, I'm starving. I'll just have a few potato chips. Yeah, sure you will. A few bags of potatoes. Right? So that's the problem. You don't want to live your life controlled by things you don't want to control you. You want to live your life with a vision of who you want to be, what you want to become. And so in order to do that, you have to control your emotions, you have to control your mind, your intelligence, your intention, your willpower. And I think for me, I will just share what was my greatest motivator. It was just looking at the future, looking at the consequences. And I at a certain point in my life, there were things that I liked, but there were things I didn't like. And when I looked and saw the future, I would think, I can change this. I can do something. I used to think I can't do anything. It's just the way I am. And then I realized, no, maybe it's the way I am, but I can change the way I am to some degree. I can at least change my actions. If I can't completely change my nature, I can change actions. So you know, some of you know Radhanath Swami, right? So Radhanath Swami, he met Obama. He's on television. He does yacht parikramas with 5, 6, 7, 8,000, 9,000 people. Lectures all over the place, and banks, and Google, and here and there. So we were having a meeting in Mayapur. There was about 80 of us, sannyasis and gurus and leaders of the movement. And I went up to him and I said, well, the facilitator, I was talking to him, the facilitator, I was saying, I would like to know how gurus deal with thousands of disciples and what they're thinking. So I went up to Maharaj Radhanath and I said, would you be willing to have a conversation, in front of everyone, and I'll ask you these questions? And he said, no, I'm too shy to do that in front of all these devotees. Isn't that interesting? He said, I'm too shy to do it. He met Obama, HPC, whatever that thing is, HSBC Bank, Google, this one and that one. He's doing that and giving these amazing talks, like just incredible, and not showing any sign of being uneasy. And he's actually a shy person. Right? So I'm sure he thought, if I give into my shyness, then I won't go anywhere. I can't share Krishna consciousness. So it's a thought process. I can't give into this. I can't do this. This is an obstacle. I have to learn how to deal with it. And that was amazing. He said, I'll tell you, but I can't tell everybody. So we talked about it and got all the answers. But I thought that was so interesting that he felt that way, in spite of his public persona. And if you talk to him, you don't get the impression that he has a public persona at all. Because he doesn't feel like he is that person. Because he's a shy person. He doesn't feel important at all. His nature. But he has to take that position in order to share Krishna consciousness, so he does it. So you may have a fear. Wouldn't it be good to learn how to act in spite of it? You may be envious. Wouldn't it be good to learn how to deal with that? You may have lust. Wouldn't it be good to learn how to deal with it? It all comes from an intention to do it, a willingness to apply yourself. So my story was, I was living in India, in the holy place of Vrindavan, which is the most amazing place I have ever lived in my life. I can't describe it. Those of you who have been to Vrindavan, you understand how amazing it is. But those of you who haven't, I'll tell you a story about it, and then I'll tell you what happened to me. So there were some students who knew nothing about Vrindavan. They came to Vrindavan on a photo assignment. Their teacher is a devotee. So they didn't know what Vrindavan was. And Vrindavan is a very spiritual place, and these were just average American students, not vegetarian necessarily or into yoga or anything. Just average photography students. So they came to Mayapur to do their photo essay. Vrindavan, and they're living there. And the last day they were there, they went to the tour guide and they all sat down and said, "We have a question for you." He said, "What?" He said, "What is it?" He said, his name is Gopal. He said, "Gopal, what is this feeling that we have living in Vrindavan? We've never felt this way before in our lives. What is it?" So that's Vrindavan. It's a special place. You go there, you don't, it's like you're a different person. You have a different heart, a different mind. Everything's different. It's spiritually surcharged. You come back here, you'll become Australian again. You go there, you're like spiritual transcendental. So I lived there. It was like amazing. And then we had to move back to America. And we were living as teachers. So we really didn't have much money. And we didn't have a house. We didn't have anything. We didn't have a house. We didn't have a car. We were living in India. So we started a business. And my wife and I are teachers. We're not business people. But we had to do something. You know, we needed to have some income to live. So we started a business. We were bringing things back from India, wholesaling and retailing, just whatever, purses, jewelry, you know, any little knick-knack. And so it evolved into a business over the years. And it was successful, but I hated it. I wasn't a business person. And so I had one day, I was sitting in my office, and I was so frustrated with what I was doing because it was so much against my nature. And I had all the things that am teaching you tonight, I had been learning and understanding more deeply over the years. And then I said to myself a mantra, and it went like this: you don't have to do this, you can do something else. It took faith and courage, because now I had to believe in what I was learning. I had to believe in Krishna. I had to believe that I could do something different. And that's changed me, I did it. And then later on, I read something so interesting. So Prabhupada said, you have your karma, whatever you do, you will get the same income. So if you look at my income tax receipts from when I had the business and when I gave it up and started what I do now, teaching, they're the same. It's the same amount of money. I think even more is going to come in the future when I'm a famous author and sell 9 books. But I always had this intuition. I said, I don't think I'll ever get rich, but if I do, it's going to be an accident. It's going to be because of what I love, not because I'll figure out how to make it. It'll happen. But anyway, the point is, I understood I could change. I was allowing myself. It was too easy just to do the business because it was an easy way to make money. It didn't take any brain. You just buy something and sell it. And find a place to sell it. And teaching meant I had to study a lot. I had to develop courses. I had to learn how to present. It was more difficult, but I did it. And it was based on everything I was telling you tonight. And as I said, and all the goals I made at that time, when I went back and looked at my paper, I said, this is all old stuff. I've already done all this. It was so nice to read it and see that I made huge changes just by understanding I could do it, and then learning how to develop and control my mind and develop the attitudes that I needed to do it. So I couldn't be fearful, and I couldn't be this, or I couldn't be that. I had to control myself. But the inspiration, the reason to do it was so strong that I could do it. And you can do it too, if you want. It's up to you. It depends on you. Hare Krishna. So we have a little time for questions, if you like to ask.
If everything just depends on, I can do it if I want to. There is a question of Krishna's mercy or something.
That's how you get Krishna's mercy. Because you're doing it for him. If you say, if I ask you, what's your name?
Smita Krishna.
Smita Krishna. I say, what do you want? And you say, whatever Krishna wants. Okay, that's a good answer. But Krishna wants to know what you want. I mean, there's so many, okay, whatever Krishna wants. Yeah, he wants like 10,000 things. So which of those 10,000 things do you want to do for service? He wants to know. So it sounds very materialistic. Yeah, I'm just going to do this. But the point is, you're taking, God helps those who help themselves. You're taking initiative to serve. Krishna says, control yourself, control your anger, control your mind, be compassionate, be forgiving, all these things. So you're trying to do that. And now he's helping you. It works together. We can't be like, well, whatever Krishna wants. You know, in the early days of our movement in India, Srila Prabhupada developed a program where he asked his disciples to go out and meet businessmen and ask them if they would contribute and become life members. It was a fee. And then we get all those books. So the devotees would go to life members, and the life members would say, when Krishna tells me, then I'll do it. No. So Prabhupada said, tell them that I'm Krishna's representative, and I'm telling you, you should do it. So it has to be more like that, you know, what Krishna, when he wants. No, this is right in the Gita, he's telling you what to do. So we do this, but there's no false ego in doing it, because we know it depends on Krishna, but we know Krishna will help us. Right? You go out to do some service, you're not confident you know how to do it, but Krishna will give you intelligence. You have that confidence. So you think of anything you want to do for Krishna, there is some sense of initiative on your part, willpower, but also dependence. And depend on Krishna, but you have to act. And the point is, if we don't do that, then the modes of nature take over. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Allowing the modes of nature. And also you have the nature. So what is the best way you can serve according to that nature? So you can say, yeah, anything. That's a surrendered attitude. Especially a brahmachari living in a temple has to be more in that attitude. But let's say you're an accountant. So you could say anything, but the temple needs an accountant. And it's obvious you should do it. If no one else can do it, you're willing to do it because that's what you can offer. Say, no, I'll just clean the pots. No, but you're an accountant. So I should do that. We need that. Something like that.
So it's very nice to explain how, to overcome envy. So when in life you're presented, say, like with a situation, where you say, like, in a situation A, you are kind of not happy.
Yes.
You think that in a situation B, you will also not be happy.
Yes.
Kind of indifferent in both the situations. So what would you do? Would you change?
Depends what the situation is. If it's divorce and A and B are both unhappy, then I would not get divorced. If it's one bad job or another bad job, then the pay is the same. Why keep changing? If it's something that's going to help you spiritually, maybe materially it won't matter, but spiritually it's better. Like a job that's closer to work, less hours. Yeah, I would take that. You always want to consider what's best spiritually. I will tell you a story. It's really, really beautiful story. And I think this will inspire us a lot. We have a temple in America, in Houston, Texas. So the temple president there, he's a Grihastha. He's from India. And they built that temple. It's one of the most beautiful temples in America. And they've got a hall for like 500 or 1,000 people. They've got a property. They own many. All the devotees live around there in homes. They just bought some property and they're building apartments. It's quite a project. And I think for some time he wasn't having to work, but then he ran out of money. And he got a job. I don't know how he got qualified for it or what he did. He got a job working for a company where he repairs a machine or a group of machines when they break down. And his hours are from 4 a.m. to noon. And most of the time, the machine doesn't break down, so he sits in his office chanting japa and reading the Bhagavatam. And he comes home at noon, which means he has the rest of the day to do service as a temple president. So when you have a desire to serve like that, look what Krishna can do. So I love that story, because it's so obvious that he's done so much service, and he wants to continue the service that Krishna has taken care of him. My godbrother Vaisheshika Prabhu said in the lecture, and I don't know where the reference is, but it's another beautiful thought. He said, sometimes a devotee has given his life to Krishna and is so busy, he doesn't even have time to take care of himself, so Krishna takes care of him. And Krishna provides, what he doesn't have time to take care, Krishna will provide what he needs. He'll send people to take care of him, to give him money to cook for him. A devotee will say, I do massage, you need a massage. The doctor will say, you need an exam. It's just like, so I always tell devotees that Krishna promises to take care of you, so why don't you test his promise? And take another step, closer to the jumping off the cliff and see what happens. And it's fun. I say test Krishna, that doesn't sound right, but I don't have a better way of saying it. He says it, you can still test him. No, what do we say? When someone makes a promise, how do we say that? He promises. So do you test his promise? Or what's the word I'm looking for? What is it?
You're testing and trusting Krishna's word. Testing yourself. To trust
Yeah,
Krishna.
okay, test. I like test Krishna, but we're testing ourselves, yeah. But in a sense, we're testing. Well, Krishna said it, so why don't you test him? See if it's true. Jump off the cliff, see what happens. See if he'll catch you. He said he would. So, Krishna really wants to see your attitude. And so Krishna sees you're trying. You're applying what he's teaching you. And he helps you. So, everything I said tonight, without Krishna's mercy, how can you do it? But because you want to do it, he gives you help. Yeah. Gives you intelligence. And he gives you the input so you can control yourself. Yes?
I had a question about, how you said you're in charge of what you want to do if you make a decision and have goals that you can achieve it. But say someone wants to join the ashram.
You may not be 100% in charge, but you're more in charge than if you do nothing.
Right.
Yeah. You have to, at least if you make the intention, then the laws of nature won't pull you away. Yeah. Okay, so you want to move in the ashram, but?
Someone wants to join the ashram, but then the people who sort of are in charge of that place, they say that you have a certain you have a certain disposition, and so because of that, it's probably not a good idea to bring you.
Okay.
So, how do we reconcile?
Work around it. Move near the temple and come to Mangalartik every day. You do that. Start your own center. Every situation provides an opportunity for us to, figure out how to work through it and around it. And so we have to be stronger to do that, wiser, more faithful. So if we don't have challenges, we're not going to be Krishna conscious. If we don't have difficulties, we're not going to be Krishna conscious. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that. He said, Krishna doesn't like to see his devotees suffer, but he has to put them in difficulty for them to become strong. Like it's necessary. Until you become completely pure, difficulty is necessary. So don't run away from difficulty. See that I need this to become strong. It's just a fact. Some of the best rounds we chant are when life is the most difficult. Some of the worst rounds we chant is when everything is good. Unfortunately, that's not true for advanced devotees. But until we become very advanced, the difficulty is necessary. And we've come into the world, we want to be happy here, we're trying. If it actually worked, or we could actually be happy, in body, mind, and soul happy, who would be interested in spiritual life? What would the impetus be? Read this book, it'll make you happy. I already am happy. Yeah, but you can go to the spiritual world, no problem. I'll die and come back, and I get another body and I'll be happy. It's like, why would you want to do austerity and chant and meditate and give up so many things if you're already happy? But it's when things are difficult, then it changes. So for us as devotees, we need that. We need the obstacles. If somebody doesn't like you, it's great to introspect. How am I reacting to it? Am I hating this person now? If I'm hating this person because he doesn't like me, that means I must have a lot of hatred in me. So we see it like that. We definitely need tests. There's no question. And we definitely need pushes. But when you advance to the point when you have a taste for hearing and chanting, you don't need that anymore. Because your taste is what will pull you. Your taste will pull you. But until that taste is strong, we have to be pushed from behind. So it's good. Sometimes someone will criticize you. Who wants to be criticized? It's very painful. But it makes us humble. We're either going to get angry or we're going to become humble. So when these things happen, you have a choice. How do you want to react? So like in this situation, if you get frustrated, start criticizing them. Criticize this stone, A, B, and C. Or you can just say, okay, Krishna's desire, something I'm meant to learn. And even if it turns out, 5 years from now that what they said was wrong, they shouldn't have said it, still that's not the point. The point is, how did I respond to it? Even though it is wrong. Like another, this brings up another point about the mind. I didn't mention this, but it's really important. Sometimes something happens. So let's say what they told you is, proves to be wrong. And so you were justified in being upset. But what's the point of being justified in being upset? Because the result is, whether it's justified or not, you're upset. And you suffer from that upset, right? So one of the big challenges we have is when something is not fair, it's not just, it wasn't right, we were mistreated or whatever, we get focused on that person or that situation or the organization that did that, and we just get our mind absorbed in very negative thoughts, isn't it? Even if what they did was wrong, that's not the point. The point is that we're allowing ourselves to get absorbed. And that's so common, isn't it? If you mistreat me, then I get upset, and I think, I have a right to be upset because you did the wrong thing. Okay, that may be true, but now I'm upset. And so what happens when I'm upset? I lose my Krishna consciousness. So this is a huge problem in controlling the mind. We allow ourselves to get focused on some negative thing. In a world of a million positive things, we've got one negative, and it's just that little negative. It's overtaken our mind, and we can't stop thinking about it. Isn't it? And what little negative thing? It was wrong. Everybody, all your friends say, that was wrong. That was bad. Yeah, I know it was wrong. It was bad. It was so bad. Yeah, that was so bad. It was worse than that. Yeah. That was, you shouldn't stand for that. You should do something. Maya's trick. So now you're not thinking of Krishna. You're just completely absorbed in this thing which is bad. We all agree it's bad, but look at what it's done to you. And life is like that all the time. There will be a million things to get absorbed in that are bad, and how you've been mistreated, right? And all of those take you away from Krishna. So it's actually stupid. And we all do this. We allow ourselves to get focused on something negative, isn't it? Instead of positive Krishna consciousness. So this is a great situation for you to learn how not to allow that to affect you. Because if you don't, then you can just completely become a cancer in your mind and heart. how could they do that? It's so unfair. Who do they think they are? And get on Facebook and then big articles. And it's like, yeah. Probably you change around. So I don't have any time anymore. I'm on Facebook writing articles. Isn't it? That's the result of it. And so we have to be intelligent. To not allow ourselves to get focused on something negative. Because then it just grows and takes away. Yes? Yes?
So, Maharaj, when you are saying we should focus on positive things, not get absorbed into negative. So, superficially, we can identify what is negative and what is positive, but when it gets more subtle and when we try to really focus on what is positive. So, how do we differentiate at a subtle level what is positive and what is negative?
What brings you to Krishna is positive. What takes you away is negative. It's not material. But you might need something positive materially as a foundation for your Krishna consciousness. So if it helps, say, well, maybe if I do this, it'll help me, my mind, or help my heart, or my emotions, or my body. But because it helps those things, it enables me to be more Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for coming. I think we have to make an announcement, or what do we do? Okay, so Bharti will start now and make an announcement. And if you want to have questions after, you can talk to me after. Is that okay? Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So first of all, we'd like to thank you all very much for coming for the program tonight. We'd especially like to thank His Grace Mahatma Prabhu for visiting Sydney once again. It's been a couple of years since he was here. The last